Yes! Hold up. I know the music's still on. Give it a second. Alright, there we go. Yes, Elijah Lawson. I thought Galatasaray would walk away from Ederson. They are still interested in Ederson alongside Donnarumma. Well, my belief is with Donnarumma is going to stay at PSG this season, and then he is going to leave on a free next season, and he's going to join Real Madrid. I've said that for at least a few weeks now. I'm 100% certain on it. Well, I wouldn't say 100. Maybe that's a bit too ambitious, but I'm fairly certain. And that news earlier that PSG were looking for a new keeper only furthers my feeling. But big ups to everyone tuning in. We got Elijah right now. We got 3 people tuning in overall, so big ups to you all. Now then, today's focus though isn't on Donnarumma. It is on Ederson, and it is on James Trafford, Man City's new keeper, who is joining very soon. And basically what we're going to have a look at is Trafford versus Ederson in terms of overall stats. Now, first of all, I do actually want to have a look at some of James Trafford's games from last season, and just games on a whole. If Ederson leaves, I will be shocked. I don't think he's going to leave now. I would be surprised as well. I think he's going to stay, and I think Ortega's going to go. Now then, I know it's going to be on Vital Hayes, this graphic, but just bear with me. Well, this site. It just automatically goes on to Vital Hayes for me. Now then, let's go have a look at Trafford. We didn't actually get a look at James Trafford's stats on my Here We Go stream. So let's have a look at these stats. So, in terms of penalties saved in the Championship, he actually saved 2 out of his 2, so 100% save ratio in terms of penalties in the Championship last season. He's not that good. He got 29 clean sheets in the Championship, and he only conceded 16 goals. And to my knowledge, if memory serves, there weren't many games where he conceded more than 1 goal, if any. I think, to my knowledge, there was no game where James Trafford the last season in the Championship conceded more than 1 goal, which for me doesn't, even if he is in the Championship, okay. For me, that is a very good stat. You know, I'm reading here, trying to find a game where he conceded more than 1 goal. Okay, so that is less than 1 goal or less. Well, this is 1 goal or less. We're in November now. 1 goal or less. 1 goal or less. There was no game last season where he conceded 2 goals. You know, and I know that it's the Championship. Okay, the opposition isn't as brilliant. It's not like he's got Salah or Haaland or whatever shooting at him, and I know that he wasn't quite like that in his time at the Premier League. But there is no doubt that he's done pretty good, and I'm certain by January, Trafford will be number 1. Snodark. I still have Ederson tomorrow. Tell Pep and board. He wants Galatasaray. Then what do we do? Did you see Pep a new look? Yes, I did. Hasn't he just got a new? Hasn't he just gone with the mustache? Very weird. That's going to be a very weird one to adjust to if he is keeping with that. That is going to be a very strange one. But welcome to the stream, Newer Dark. Big ups to you. I'm certain that Trafford by January will be number 1. Well, look, these are very promising stats. Now then, what I will say is, expect if Trafford is number 1, okay, and he's starting the bulk of the games, don't think if he concedes more than 2 goals and more than 1 goal in a game, he's cooked, you know. If he keeps doing it, then yeah, maybe we do have a problem. Okay, but don't take this record for granted, is what I'm saying. You know, he had some really good games in here. You know, he really did help us. I mean, look how much blue he's got here. You know, blue implying that he's man of the match, by the way. It's crazy. I know 7.7 isn't setting the bar very high, but 9.2 here, that is huge. Didn't get any man of the matches after this brilliant period, but obviously this was a huge help in their promotion. Thoughts on AFTV? It's so cringe. It's a very cringe video. I try not to rise to it because they probably want that kind of reaction. But yeah, it's a very cringe video. It's very, very cringe. I've seen the whole thing, sadly. It is a bit cringe. I feel a little bit bad for Gyökeres to an extent because now the whole footballing world knows that celebration. So many people do it now, and it's just been memed out a bit, and AFTV has fully cooked it. They have fully cooked it. But yeah, Trafford with some really, really good stats here. I'll even try and... I can't even go back further than that. Oh well. Again, though, great stats here for his team, to be fair. Now then, let's... where should we go to? Let's actually go to one of those games. Let's go to his highest rated game, which I believe is this 9.2, but we'll go back to it. Yeah, 9.2 in a 0-0 game. I'm going to guess there were lots of shots. Yeah, 14 shots from Sunderland, with 5 being big chances. And remember, they didn't score once. So, lineups real quick. Yeah, Trafford absolutely set the bar. We'll now have a look here. Here we go. Minutes played, 90 obviously. Saved penalties, 2. 2 penalties saved in one game. That is nuts. 3 saves in the whole game on a whole. Didn't concede once. Accurate passes, 30 out of 43. He was probably hoofing it up a bit, though, to be fair to him. Yeah, and long balls here does imply that as well. Acted as a sweeper once. Diving save 2 times. Saved inside the box 3 times. 1 throw out, 5 recoveries, 49 touches, and even 1 ground duel. Yeah, 2 penalty saves in one match is kind of crazy. Did you know Trafford was recruited by CFA as a midfielder? So I don't think he is that bad on ball. I mean, yeah, that is the thing with goalkeepers that have been a part of our system, in the academy. Our goalkeepers are bound to be decent on the ball, okay? Because that's how we've wanted our keepers to be. Look at Ederson. His main thing is ball distribution. He's got the most assists in Premier League history from a goalkeeper. He even set the record for it last season. So, our goalkeepers are very good on the ball, typically. Even Ortega's not bad. And James Trafford seems to want to follow that kind of suit. So let's click off that real quick and actually just go to the stats here. We'll go to passing. I don't expect James Trafford to be at the top, to be fair, because he is a goalkeeper. Here he is. So 30 out of his 43. 5 passes into the final third. Again, a lot of those missed balls are long balls. And when you actually look at it, not saying this is for certain, but 21 long balls attempted, 8 of them got completed, meaning 13 didn't. He missed 13 passes. So arguably, it was the long balls that he gave away. Yeah, but I actually didn't know that either, by the way, Newer Dark. That is a fun fact, by the way. But yeah, it is a good point that Trafford, if we're worried about Trafford on the ball, don't be too worried, because it's kind of what our goalkeepers are brought in to do, So no worries in that area for me. Now, can I get anything else out of it? Let's go to another game. He had more than one good game. That was merely his best one. Oh, we've lost James Trafford. Here we go. Let's go back to him. Let's have a look for his second highest. I did see an 8.5 at one point. There's an 8.6. 8.5. Right, let's go to the 8.6 then. So here we go. James Trafford. Let's go lineup. Trafford at the 8.6. Now then, he made 4 total saves. Obviously didn't concede a goal. 22 accurate passes. Again, it's definitely the long balls. That's not an anomaly. 11 long balls he missed and 11 passes on a whole he missed. So in terms of his short passing and just knocking it about, he doesn't seem to be a worry. Whilst with Ederson last season, even Ortega, they did misplace some passes here and there. Despite their quality, they are quality keepers, but they did misplace a pass here and there. We saw it a good few times last season, a lot more than we usually do. Didn't have to act as a sweeper, but had a high claim. You got to remember, Trafford's not going to act as a sweeper much with Burnley. Burnley are very defensive. They very much sit back and let the team attack them. Just look at the setup. It's a back 7 if you include Trafford, with only really 4 attacking players. Yeah, I was about to say as well, this guy's a Brighton player. It's a back 7, really. With these guys chipping in a bit in the attack, but ultimately do help out the defence. And I don't think these guys probably go forward much. But yeah, it's a very strong defensive setup, and these guys, I have no doubt, help out defensively too. Because that's just how Burnley are. It's the reason they only conceded 16 goals or something like that last season, which is a very good achievement, by the way, for any team. 16 goals conceded in a season is nuts. When you think of the Premier League, the record for that is 15 goals conceded. It's a very good record, and Trafford was a huge part of that with the saves he was having to make quite clearly. Throughout the championship, he got 8 yellow cards, no red cards, which is good. Didn't do anything stupid. Now, in terms of the whole championship season, he made 87 saves and only conceded 16 goals, which means he would have faced 103 on-target shots, roughly, assuming nothing weird happened. 103 on-target shots, and he only conceded 16, which is kind of nuts in my opinion. I think that is kind of nuts, and if you convert that into a percentage, I'll keep not sweeping, we guessing swept. Yeah, there is that, to be fair. When you 104 shots according to this is an own goal. I don't know, but when you actually look at the percentage, it's roughly 85% save ratio. It's above 80%. Here you go. Why am I trying to do the math? 84.6% saving ratio. That is kind of crazy. I know it's only the championship. It's not all his competitions. I do wonder what his Premier League one was. 63%, but again, the caliber of shots he would have been facing would have been so much higher. He made more saves than he made in the championship. So to be fair, tough one to really look at. Goals conceded 16. Goals prevented 12, which is 100%. 29 clean sheets. Penalties faced 2. No penalty goals conceded. Both penalties saved. And the game against Sunderland as well. Sunderland, a team that did get promoted, so they were big challenges. No errors led to goals. So, it's not like Ederson where he did that stupid header against Feyenoord when he was just completely wiped out. Acted as a sweeper 19 times. So again, he's not completely shy to the sweeper work. Again, not doing it as much because he plays for Burnley. High claims 30. Distribution 70.3%. So again, it's not. Again, it's not awful considering a lot of the time he would have been doing long balls. In my mind, he would have been doing a lot of long ball passes. And got 8 yellow cards with no reds, so pretty good in my opinion. Yeah, so I'm very happy with that. That for me, that is only screaming good. But I said that this stream was Ederson versus Trafford. So let's go and pull up some Ederson stats now. Now then, for me, I think it's only fair that we look at Ederson's Premier League record. Despite him playing not as many games in the Premier League this season, he only played 26 matches in the Premier League, believe it or not, due to injuries. Trafford completed almost double that, FYI. So, that's the Club World Cup. So actually, we'll go across all of his leagues, but so we'll start with here. He made 53 saves. Well, we'll go off this. 54 saves he made, with 26 conceded, meaning, he had a 67% ratio. Already, in terms of shot stopping, we know Ederson's not the best at shot stopping, but that's already a major gap. Already. Oh, wait. Sorry, I'm not showing my screen. It's already a major gap. 26 goals conceded. It is the Premier League. He played less games, to be fair. But it is the Premier League in a season where our defence was pretty poor. And that is 10 more than Trafford. Prevented 4 goals. Compared to Trafford's, I think it was 12. 12. 10 clean sheets. Trafford had, I think, 26. 29. Penalties faced. 2, same amount as Trafford, both saved. He hasn't actually saved an open play penalty since 2021, by the way. He's only saved penalties in shootouts, which even then I know his record isn't brilliant on. Errors led to goals twice, none for Trafford. Had to act as a sweeper 23 times, which, to be fair to Trafford, is only 4 more times than Trafford, and high claims 13 compared to the 30 that Trafford made. Now then, I will continue to point out the Premier League is a higher league. It's a higher intensity. It's a very different league to the Championship. They are very different leagues. I'm not going to act like a Championship expert, but I think anyone that is a Championship expert and also watches the Prem would tell you that they are very different leagues. The Championship is very physical. And so on. So, they are different leagues, to be fair. And so the comparison is a tough one to make, but there are certain aspects you can look at. Passing accuracy, Ederson with 86. He was always going to have that one. With 139 long balls compared to Trafford's... blinking heck. Sorry. I thought Trafford would have had less. Trafford had 209. So fair play to Trafford there. And although Trafford's long ball accuracy was 31% compared to Ederson's 57%, so you could argue that is more worthwhile. And Eddie, of course, like I mentioned before, did get 4 assists, setting the record for the most assists from a goalkeeper in history, but also in Premier League history, but also setting the record for the most Premier League assists from a goalkeeper in a season. I feel Diaz is washed. If we go with Diaz as main defender, I don't see us going far. I get what you're saying, New or Dark. I do want to see the Cristiano-Vardiol partnership. I really want to see that. But I do think Diaz is going to get given the nod to begin. But I really want to see Diaz and Vardiol because Vardiol and Kusanov. Now, Diaz and Vardiol did become a good partnership, to be fair. But I just think Kusanov-Vardiol is the way forward, personally. I still think Diaz has a place in the squad, though. And 4 yellow cards for Eddie and no red cards. So, look, it's a very different league. Ederson's stats don't look the prettiest. You look at all that, orange and whatnot. And then you look at Trafford's very much green with a bit of orange on the way. Record. They are very different looking records, to be fair. So now then, there is no other league for us to look at for Trafford, but let's have a look at the FA Cup now for him. I don't think he would have played. Did Eddie play in the FA Cup? Seems like he featured against Bournemouth, and that was it. All right, we'll leave Bournemouth because it's one game. Champions League, here we go. 27 saves with a save percentage of 57%, not great. 20 goals conceded in how many games? Oh, blinking it. I wasn't thinking that. How many games would that have been? $20 goals. I'm trying to see. Well, there would have been about at least 8 to 10 games. That's how I'm looking at it. Brother pet policy of not making players feel and an obsession over old players has to stop. It is a worry. I think Pep has got his favourites, to be fair. Bernardo, we all know he loves Bernardo. And he's obviously a bit more loyal to some of the older guys like Gundo, like Diaz, for example, John Stones, Ake, and even some of his trouble season guys, like obviously Haaland and Akanji. So yeah, it is something to note. But in terms of the Champions League, Eddie, not the greatest. Again, passing accuracy as you'd hope, and distribution pretty good, and long ball accuracy pretty good too. Distribution has never really been doubted for Eddie, despite some of that being awful. His distribution literally cost us the game against Feyenoord, basically. And there were other times where we conceded goals due to Eddie's poor distribution, even in the Club World Cup. Yes, Rosa with the Alfred. Big ups to you, Rosa. How you doing? Appreciate it. Big ups to Alf. No reds or yellows, but again, it's only 8 to 10 games for this one, to be fair. Now then, just a quick look at the Club World Cup, because this is the earliest thing we can base off of for Ederson here, the newest bit of info. Now then, across, I think the 4 games he would have featured in, Eddie, he only made 4 saves, which is 1 save per game on average, with a 40% save ratio, 6 goals conceded, 1 clean sheet, 1 error led to goals, 6 times acted as a sweeper. That's pretty standard. Again, the high accuracy and whatnot is not bad. We all know it from Eddie. This is quite low for a change, but sorry, just had a yawn there. But again, the stats aren't great, okay, for Eddie, because if you're just basing it off stats, it's not a great look, to be fair. And again, no penalty saved last season, definitely not from open play. At least can't remember if we had a penalty shootout. I don't think we did. But yeah, Trafford's record based off of last season is brilliant. I'd have a look at others if I could, but the only one we can really have a look at is Euro 2021, and I know for a fact that he was absolutely brilliant for the Euro under-21s. He was superb, an MVP at times. 15 saves, 100% save accuracy, 0 goals conceded, 6 clean sheets, 1 penalty faced last minute of the game, by the way, and he saved it. No errors led to goals. 4 times he acted as a sweeper. 3 high claims. Again, these stats aren't very high because it's like a mini tournament, so it tends to be who the heck is Alf? Alf's the guy I do believe Friday show with Newer Dark. I know that you are a bit newer here. But yeah, Alf is a guy I do a show called Blue Friday Show. We do that once a week on his channel. I did miss the last couple, but I was on the one on the other day. But yeah, Alf is a good guy. If you haven't subbed to him already, you should probably go do that. He supports Club Bruges and City. Great content over there. Make sure to give it a look. Now then, as for Trafford, let's move over to whoscored.com because that tends to be a half decent place for some of my stats. Trafford. Oh, okay, I wasn't even typing. Trafford. Ooh. Yeah, I had a feeling that they weren't really going to show much. Now, have a look at those stats just whilst I get Ederson's ready. Right, I swear I clicked it. All right. Ederson. Man City. There we go. Let's close those. Now then, in terms of James Trafford's strengths, shot stopping, aka his reflexes specifically, he's strong in. Penalty saving, also strong. Saving from close range shots, also strong. And his concentration is also strong, with a weakness of discipline. Now then, he's young. That could get trained out of him. Discipline is an issue that can be solved. Right back position, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Newer Dark, but big ups to you. We'll talk about it in just a moment. Now then, we'll hop on over to Ederson now. Okay, his strengths and weaknesses: long passing, shot stopping, reflexes, and concentration seem to be Eddie's strengths according to whoscored.com. I wouldn't really say shot stopping is like a strength of his. He's not awful at it, but it could be better, is what I'll say. And now then, weaknesses: discipline. He's very weak on according to whoscored.com, and his catching of crosses could be better, which I do agree on. Catching crosses, he doesn't really make himself very well known in the box, Ederson. So yeah, catching crosses, I can definitely see that one. And the differences with his discipline: Ederson's 31. That's probably not going to change much now. His discipline, that would have got trained out of him years ago, and maybe he's just losing that side of him a little bit now. Maybe he's getting a bit trigger happy, if you will. Excited, maybe jumping the gun a bit, and stuff like that. So for me, Ederson, the big thing with Ederson is that he's showing very clear signs of decline. For me, that is the main thing. Like I needed to tell you that, but Ederson is showing big signs of declining. It's been happening ever since after the treble season, and it really has taken a steep drop, and the Club World Cup wasn't very encouraging. So, for me, in terms of James Trafford versus Ederson, it really comes down to what you want to take your gamble on, because both, in a way, are a gamble. You could argue one more than the other. So we'll start with James Trafford. James Trafford, very good season last season with Burnley, and is highly rated at City anyway. We wouldn't have gone back in for him anyway. How many buyback clauses have we activated before? Try and name one. And also, how many academy players have we brought back to the club before? I dare you to try and name one. There's not many out there. So that's just two off the top of my head. In terms of why we would get him, and also all the stats we just looked at. Penalties, he's brilliant on. Distribution, decent on. Saving seems to be amazing on. He's got very, very good stats in that department. And Ederson, on the other hand, distribution, no doubt, is very good. Despite it being a little bit sloppy last season, it's still better than most goalkeepers in the world. Saving, not horrendous, but it could be better. Coming out and getting the ball, for the most part, is solid. Again, it didn't work very well against Feyenoord. And as it says here, concentration seems to be pretty good too. But Ederson's main thing is and always has been distribution. Now then, okay, the big thing with Trafford, okay, bit of the weaknesses now, my personal weaknesses. Inexperience. He's not super experienced, okay, he is a gamble, and it was just one season of being brilliant. Not to say he wasn't good in the Premier League, but Burnley weren't good in the Premier League, okay, they went down because they weren't good on a whole. Okay, Trafford is a part of that. Okay, last season, Championship is a different league, very different league. He was brilliant in the Championship. We don't know if that's going to translate to the Premier League, and more than the Premier League, the Champions League, and the latter stages of the FA Cup when he's got to probably play a top side. It's so much more than just the Premier League now for Trafford. Well, to be fair, Carabao Cup and FA Cup, if he is number one, Ederson gets those games, to be fair. But the Champions League is a huge one for him because it's going to be, will the pressure get to his head? Has he got that mentality? He's got he's a bit arrogant, James Trafford, which I don't think is a bad thing. Okay, he wants the number one spot. He's willing to fight for it. He knows why he's coming back to City. And he was willing to take on the challenge at Newcastle as well. So look, Newcastle are very much liking this guy, and so were we. But there are no doubt risks with him. Risks with Eddie. The continual of the decline. Club World Cup was not a great one for Eddie. I don't think he really made a save against Al Hilal. Distribution. Despite being very good, he can be sloppy with it. Okay, he does I do think he overlooks it sometimes. TBH has a very confident mentality. He is confident, Trafford, as well. I can definitely agree with that. Like, he does seem like a guy that he's not scared for the challenge. I don't think that's the problem, to be fair. But who knows? Maybe on the big stage, it can just get to you. It's a weird one. You can talk the big game and whatnot, but then when you're actually there, how do you do? Some people revel in it and some people crumble. And there have been those cases. Look at Karius for Liverpool. That is a Champions League night for all Liverpool fans to forget, and definitely for him. I'm not saying he's like Karius, to be fair, but I'm just saying that goalkeepers can crumble. I know that's a Champions League final as well. But with Eddie, the continual decline. Saving isn't great. Distribution, despite, again, being better than most keepers in the world, it is a bit rocky. It has gotten worse with that decline. And discipline, very weak according to WhoScored.com. And overall, it's just the deterioration of most of his stats. Okay, do you back the goalkeeper that's done the service for you for years, or do you give the new guy the shot? For me, if it's me, okay, and we're not giving sympathy votes for Ederson because, he's been our keeper for years, he's given so much for the club, this is his 8th year. He's done 8 years for the club. For me, I would personally be inclined to give Trafford a go. I would personally be willing to do that. Okay, if it was me, I wouldn't mind trying that out. But I do believe Ederson is going to remain the number one. Okay, I don't think that is really in question. I think Eddie will be number one this season, unless catastrophe. Unless he's just playing awfully, and then Trafford earns that spot and hopefully keeps it. If that happens, sorry, I just lost my trail of thought. Well, look, if Trafford takes that spot, then that spot is very much his. But with Eddie, I think he's going to be the guy because, Pep's got favourites and whatnot. He's going to want to back the keeper. He's backed since the second season at the club. He used a lot of good things for us, Eddie, and I don't think Pep is willing to swipe that under the rug just like that. But I personally would shift it and give Trafford the go. But it's going to be Trafford number 2, hopefully getting the cup games and hopefully even a Premier League game here and there. But look, that really concludes my Trafford versus Eddie comparisons. I'm excited for both. If he performs well, he'll be goalkeeper for England, which will earn money. He's a City boy, so he'll play for the badge, and he is homegrown, which is astronomical in benefit. Yeah, I can agree. Homegrown is huge for the club. Homegrown has been a big thing we've spoken about on Blue Friday show. So yeah, I do agree with the homegrown stuff. But also, he's going to want to fight for this badge also at Trafford because, like you said, he's a City boy. He's a City fan. He's a part of the academy. He knows the system pretty well. So I'm excited for Trafford to play in this club, and I hope he gets a debut maybe against Palermo in that pre-season friendly. But look, you asked me what's my take on the right-back position. Me personally, I want Livramento, but I'm willing to accept that that's not going to happen. Livramento just seems out of reach, if I'm honest with you. It just seems like it's not going to happen. Oh, blinking heck. I've lost you. Gone on to Fabrizio now. See if I can find anything big. But yeah, it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. Livramento. And other than that, I think we need a right back. A right back for me is important, but I don't know who. I don't know who steps up to the plate. I don't know who is good enough right now. It seems like anyone else other than Livramento will be a gamble. Gonna have a look through this real quickly, see if there's anything big. Hey, there you go. Luis Diaz to Bayern Munich from Liverpool. Xavi Simons looks like he's on the way to Chelsea, and Al Nassr signing Joao Felix. 30 million plus add-ons with a heavy selling clause. There's Goalkeeper in an Arsenal top. Jashari, big bid from AC Milan there. Club Brugge's Jashari. PSG moving for Chevalier. Gibbs White signing a new deal. Yeah, that's fully fallen through. Fully. But yeah, nothing, doesn't seem like we've had anything on right backs, at least from Fabrizio. We'll go have a look at, this is the extra now. Yeah, more of the same from what we saw. There's Pep's new mustache. There's Diaz. Yeah, nothing new. Nothing really big to talk about. Apparently, our James Trafford move is surpassing the 30 million of Jordan Pickford, so maybe it is a bit more than 27 mil, but who knows? It's a weird one at the moment for City. But look, big ups to everyone who tuned in. I appreciate the support. Big ups to you, New Dark, who basically tuned in start to finish. I appreciate the support. And yeah, good to be back. Trying to stream more regularly now. The storm has kind of blown over now, and it's more just a drizzle. But look, big ups to you all, Blues. I appreciate the support. And yeah, if you haven't already, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Big ups to you all. I'll see you in the next one.